Strap yourself in. Would work prohibited and available in the state of Shop.
Hey everybody, Dan Schinder here on Drum Talk TV with our very first father-son drumming interview. This is Max Portnoy with his special guest, his dad, Mike Portnoy. How you guys doing?
Hey.
Thanks
What's
for
happening?
Oh, we're very happy to have you, and Mike especially. I want to thank you so much for taking time out during your very short break for a couple weeks with the family. We really appreciate it.
Couple days.
Couple
I
days.
wish it was weeks.
Hopefully you're going to make it feel like a couple weeks. So before we get going, Max, and I ask you all about your upcoming project and we talk about drumming, I don't care what your drum teachers told you. I don't care what your dad tell you. I'm going to tell you the most important thing in drumming right now. You ready? It's right here on my Drum Talk TV shirt. Your band is only as good as your drummer. Whether you're a polka band, a marching band, a heavy metal band, a progressive rock band, a waltz band, it all comes down to the drummer. Make sure your bandmates know that too, okay? You too, Mike. Like Mike hasn't let them know before, right?
Yeah, I haven't let any of my bandmates not know that.
Right. So Max, you're 15 and you've started on your first CD project. Tell us about it.
Well, we've been working on it for like 3 years, writing stuff, but we finally recorded it over the summer.
Wow.
And there's like 12 songs on it. Should I give that album name?
It's up to you. I wouldn't give the album title yet. But
Okay.
Okay, you don't want to give the album title yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
gotta keep song secrets.
Yeah, no problem. How can you describe the music?
I say it's like prog metal, but then there's some rock songs on it too, and there's a really good ballad. So it has like a mix of everything on it.
That's cool. What's the instrumentation of the band?
Well, there's me on drums, then we have Thomas Kuche, who's the keyboard player and lead vocalist. Then we have Chris Rank, who's our bass player, and Rylan Holland's the guitar.
Cool.
And they both do backing vocals.
And if you don't mind me asking, are they all your age or around your age?
Yeah, I knew Ryland and Chris since first grade, and I've been playing with Chris for like my whole life basically. And then we met Thomas in like 6th grade, and we formed a band. Thomas is a year older than us, but me, Ryland, and Chris are the same age.
Wow, that's cool. So you guys were like 12 when you started writing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you saw the Fortune Cookie video or heard the EP they put out years ago, I mean, that was pretty much like one of the first. Those were the first songs they wrote. I mean, me as a proud dad and also the producer of the CD, I could tell you that the progress they've made in 3 years is just. I mean, 3 years. You know, when you're our age, is 3 years. 3 years
Right.
when you're their age is like dog years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like it's leaps and bounds. You know.
Yeah.
The progress and the growth and the maturity over the course of 3 years. You know, from 12 to 15 and 16, it's an enormous period of growth, not only as players but also as writers.
Yeah, your sensibilities as a human being evolve, your maturity, as you mentioned, develops, your dexterity as a physical player. I mean, everything really happens during that time. Absolutely. Cool. I have a track, actually I have 2 tracks that Marlene sent of just drums. I'm going to play just, not to give too much away, but if it's okay, I want to drop in just a couple short clips of Max recording some drum tracks. Is that all right?
Oh, wow. Well, I wonder what it is. I don't even know what it is.
Sure.
I don't know the name, but when you see the interview, you'll know. And if you need me to take it out, you can write letters to the governor. Okay, check this out. This is Max in the studio tracking for the new CD. Check this out. Max, tracking in the studio, how has the process changed, Mike, as a producer over the course of the 3 years? Were you involved much in the arranging process so that you'd know how it's going to be recorded, or did you come in later just during the recordings?
No, I can't emphasize enough that they wrote these songs. I mean, what people will hear when they hear the CD, I don't want people to think that I had anything to do with the writing or the performing. It's all them. I came in after the songs were written and made, as the producer, made a couple of minor suggestions here and there, to the arrangements, but very, very little. I mean, it was 99% there. And then in the studio, they had never recorded before in a real studio, so I kind of had to show them the ropes and the process and manage the day-to-day schedule and what had to be done. And we were in the studio for about a month throughout August of this year, and they really had the full-on experience, which is cool because a lot of bands these days, basically they have Pro Tool rigs at home. They'll record their drums, then somebody else will do their tracks at their house, and somebody else will do their tracks at their house, and they send the tapes around, and they don't get the real experience like I did when I was younger of going to the studio and making a record from start to finish. They did get that experience. We went in there, and we started with the drum tracks, and we did guitars, bass, keyboards, vocals, string overdubs, background vocals. We saw the whole process from start to finish in the studio together with the whole band. So they had that real old school experience, which was great. But in answer to your question, I played the producer. I shared my experience with how to record and how to go through the day-by-day routine in the studio, but the songs and the arrangements are all them.
That's really cool. And so you literally were able to use the synergy of the chemistry of everyone in the room, even if they weren't tracking together. Everyone's kind of hanging out in the control room, listening to the other guy do his tracks, and that sort of feedback and energy.
I was jealous because I haven't done a record like that in a long time, actually. Not since my Dream Theater days. Have I, had that experience of being in the control room from start to finish and overseeing every instrument.
Right.
So it was great for them to experience it that way and be there and share that band camaraderie and to eat lunch together every day and have dinner together every night. That whole studio experience is an amazing thing and something that I know they'll remember forever.
Yeah, and it not that you would have forgot, Mike, but did it remind you of the value of all of that cohesiveness and physical, camaraderie bring around each other during the process?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kind of made me miss that. It's been a while since I've done a record that way, but I'm glad as a producer to have had that experience in the producer chair. Yeah. Because as a producer, you get to oversee every step, every instrument, every step along the way. But it was a great experience.
That's cool.
Not only for me as a father to share with him, but it was a great experience for me creatively. Just another notch on my, my career belt.
Absolutely. No, that's great. And a different one at that is certainly has its place. Max, did you, during the development of the material from 12 to 15, over this 3-year period, did you experiment with the material a lot in front of people? Did you play out and try the songs out different ways and weed out different songs? Can you talk about that process a little bit?
Well, we played many shows. Like some of them are just like small little ones, but we played like after we write one, when we practice it, we usually just play it live at whatever show's coming up. Right. And we did that with basically like 10 out of the 12 songs. So we've done it a lot, and there's videos on YouTube of us playing it too.
Cool. Great. And let's talk drumming specifically now. I'm sure your father was likely at least somewhat of an influence on your drumming, but what other drummers do you follow and admire?
Other than my dad, the main drummer that I got inspired by was Joey Jordison.
Oh,
and,
cool.
Growing up, because I'd always listen to Slipknot and everything. I'm still listening to them now, but he was always my main influence other than my dad. My biggest one, and I always copy his fills and everything and try to learn the music and everything.
Right. Have you ever seen him live?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
cool. Very
many
cool.
times.
Let's talk about your gear. Do you use, and Mike, maybe this is also a question for you as the producer, your input on the why, but as far as the what, Max, tell us, is there a difference between the gear that you play when your band rehearses, writes, or plays live versus what you used in the studio? Like, did you use the same types of drum heads and things like that?
I used the same exact drum kit that we played with live when we
Cool.
recorded. So it's the same thing. It's Tama drums and Sabian cymbals, and everything's just the same. I just
Cool.
reuse that for when we play live.
Great. And
But
what?
I should mention that the kit that you use in rehearsals with Next to None, the one you
That's
use from
different.
rehearsals and when you write all the songs,
Yeah.
he actually has one of my old Dream Theater kits, and that's what is in their rehearsal space.
Oh,
But
cool.
then in the studio, he used his kit, which is Tama and Sabian, and it's the kit that he plays live and also in the studio.
And what heads do you like to use, Max?
Just Remo heads. Usually what my dad has for me.
Use pinstripes in the studio.
Yeah.
The
I
pinstripe?
use pinstripe.
When do you expect the CD to come out, and what's left to do on it? Has it been mastered yet?
It still needs to be mixed. We just sent it to Jay Rustin, and he's gonna mix it, I think. But it's probably not gonna get released for like a long time, like a few months.
Not until next year.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you looking at maybe like end of the first quarter, perhaps, around the beginning of spring?
We'll see. I mean, honestly, it's ready. We could put it out right now, but I think they deserve a real deal.
Sure.
And so right now we're going to shop a couple songs to a couple labels, and if we can get a deal in place, then obviously the label will dictate when they want to put the record out and
Right.
around their schedule. So I would anticipate early next year, but who knows? Now we gotta do that whole song and dance now.
Yeah. Well, literally. Definitely keep us posted on that, and we'd love to do another interview around the time of the release. If you don't mind, talk about the father-son drumming dynamic. Was drumming something, Max, that you gravitated towards naturally, or Mike, was it something that you encouraged him to try out? How did that evolve? And for the sake of other parents who play instruments and are thinking about this, share your process and experience with them.
It's probably both. Just from watching my dad tour ever since I was like 1, I just wanted to like be like that, and I always would play like behind the drum riser with sticks on like the ground and everything. And then I remember like I was around 5 and I got my first drum kit, and I just played on it ever since then. I got lessons and everything. So I think it was him encouraging me, and I also wanted to do like what he was doing and everything.
Right. That's cool. And Mike, if you don't mind me asking, how much have you worked with Max on his drumming? Is it something you've been involved in actively, or do you let him do his
No.
own thing with another instructor?
To be honest, everybody assumes that I teach him, but I don't. He actually goes to a great teacher, a guy named Todd Sheed. Hi,
Mhm.
Todd. And you've been taking lessons from Todd for how many years? I mean,
Like 11 basically.
yeah, I mean, obviously Max grew up watching me and being on tour with me, so he learned a lot from just watching, which I think is important. That's how I learned how to play, from watching my favorite drummers when I was a kid. But honestly, I think it's important for him to take lessons from somebody else for two main reasons. The first is I'm not home most of the time. I'm
Right.
not home on a regular schedule. It's important for him to take consistent lessons every week, and I don't have a consistent schedule like that. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I'm not a teacher. I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
But just because I'm a drummer, just because I'm a drummer with a lot of experience, doesn't necessarily mean I'm a good teacher. Doesn't mean I
Absolutely.
can necessarily think in those terms.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for him to go to somebody that's very good at that.
Yeah, and that's a great statement that you make, Mike, because a lot of people make that mistake in a lot of different businesses and not just music. And I think sports is one of the best examples we have of that. Your greatest coaches were not great players, and history has shown that the greatest players don't really make great coaches either. So it's not always an automatic or a given thing that just because someone's a great player, a musician, composer, producer, means that teaching is their thing. They're kind of two separate things. Sometimes they go together, and sometimes they do not. Max, what advice would you have for youngsters your age? And when I say your age, I mean through this 3-year evolution, what advice would you have for youngsters your age that want to form a band and just start creating? You know, what would you recommend to them from your experience?
Well, when I was little, I would just go to Chris, and we would just like, I don't even think he knew how to play like guitar. He was originally our guitarist, and I was just telling him like we should make a band, and so he bought a guitar. We just sat in my basement. We just randomly played stuff. But then as we got older, we started writing formats and like arrangements of songs, but it still didn't sound good.
Right.
So then as we got older, we just started like writing actual parts and stuff. And me and Thomas now like write a lot of stuff together, and we just sit down in the basement and we just like randomly play stuff, and then the second we hear something that's cool, we'll write like a part together to it, and then we'll eventually just form an arrangement, and then the other bandmates will come in, we'll play it together, and that's how we usually get a song.
Cool. So would you say teamwork is a big important part of it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool.
I guess I don't think I'd be able to like write one by myself. I would need like Thomas giving ideas and everything too.
Right. And I'm sure a lot of people might be wondering, where does the lyrical content come from a group of youngsters that are 12 to 15 years old? And where does it come from? And can you mention just a few of the topics without giving too much of the material away?
I don't write any of the lyrics. Thomas writes everything that's lyric-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you'd have to like ask him because I can't really answer that much about that stuff. But I really don't know because I don't write any of the lyrics. I write more of the music.
Can you mention what some of the songs are about? What some of the topics are?
I mean, there's kind of like a concept between 5 of the songs that Thomas has been working with. It's about someone that's like crazy and everything, and like it's going through like his like how he goes insane and stuff. I don't want to like say it wrong, and then
that's okay.
It's Thomas's thing. So
yeah, no, that's cool.
I will say that there's some themes and concepts on this album that are so mature beyond their age. I mean, obviously, Fortune Cookie was just a lighthearted, fun thing, and there's a few songs on the album that are a little bit more freestanding, lighthearted. But there are these group of songs, like Max was saying, that are conceptually tied together, that are really deep and mature for kids their age. I mean, I said this before, but it's really true. I mean, they're doing stuff on this album, not only playing-wise, but composition-wise, that I wasn't doing until I was easily in my 20s, maybe even 30s. It's just amazing how the bar has risen. And I'm not talking about just the physical playing. I'm talking about everything, the conceptual, the writing. It's really very impressive.
That is impressive. This is going to be a very well-anticipated CD. I can't wait to hear it all. Before we go, I would be remiss if I didn't break out our friends' game here from our friends at Drum Channel and Rock Science, and have a couple of trivia questions fly around the room real quick.
You're going to test Max?
Yeah, Max.
Trivia?
You too. Here, I'll pick a...
You can't stump me. Forget that. That's impossible.
It'll all be in fun. I see a couple of your favorites, I think, right here, too. So either one of you can answer this. One's a song question, one's an album, and one's about Ginger Baker, and one's about Ian Pace.
Okay.
So, as you know, Mike, you're familiar with the game. In fact, folks, if you get the iPhone app for this, you get a booster pack from Mike Portnoy of the game. It's really cool. Comes with a game board, all this stuff, but we're just going to ask some questions from the cards real quickly. And there's 3 levels. You're either a poser level, that pretty much says what it is. There's a fan level, which is intermediate knowledge. And then there's the scientist, that's being an expert. So, what the heck, I'll ask the scientist version of the question. So here's a song question about Ginger Baker. What is the title of Ginger Baker's drum solo on Cream's first album? That one's pretty easy. Do you know what it is, Max?
I am.
You don't even know who Ginger Baker is. He's the drummer for Cream, which was one of the first supergroups in the 60s.
Yeah.
Is it Toad?
It is Toad. Ding, 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 ding. We have a winner. Cool. Let's ask an Ian Pace question. Was Ian Pace an influence on you at all, Mike?
I wouldn't say top 20, but maybe top 50.
Okay.
But I did,
cool.
With Dream Theater, I covered an entire Deep Purple album. We did the entire Made in Japan album.
Right.
From start to finish. So, learning that album was a lesson in improvisation. They were improvising. We were learning their improv.
Right, exactly.
Jams, but it was some great insight learning that album from start to finish. And I even had to learn Ian's drum solo on that album.
On the Mule.
Which was, the Mule.
The Mule. Yeah.
And I also toured with Deep Purple back in '98, so I got to, hang out with him and watch him every night.
Right.
So, anyway.
Yeah, we interviewed him it's been a couple months already, and that's on our website. Great insight to drum. What's with all these drum solos named after animals? There's Moby Dick, the Mule, Toad.
Right.
What's all that about?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So here's the Ian Pace question. We'll go with Max first. Max, do you know who Ian Pace is?
Not really.
Okay,
Oh,
so we'll make this a team effort. Which was the first Deep Purple album to feature the famous Mach 2 lineup? Mach 2 lineup being with Ian Gillan on vocals, Roger Glover on bass, and of course the originators John Lord on keyboards, Richie Blackmore on guitar, and Ian Pace on drums.
The Mach 2 lineup was the lineup that I covered with Made in Japan. That
Exactly.
It would be In Rock, right?
That's right, with the Mount Rushmore-like album cover. Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool game from our friends and folks over at Drum Channel and Rock Science. Guys, thanks so much for joining us on Drum Talk TV. And Max, where can people stay up to date with your project? Give out the website, we'll put it on the screen there.
We have a website, it's www.nexttonone.net. And we also have our Twitter page, which is Next to None as well. And a Facebook page. I say probably the website's probably the best place to get stuff, though.
Okay, cool. So everybody, it's right there on your screen. You can follow Max Portnoy and Next to None, and you can see and hear the results of Mike Portnoy's latest producer efforts, which we're very excited about. Again, I'd love to get with you guys on this before it comes out. And watch for Mike Portnoy on an upcoming Drum Talk TV special we're going to put out by the end of the year, which was the Ox and the Loon show, the very first one. And we look forward to seeing you. Are you going to be at the next one, Mike?
I believe so. As
Okay.
of now, I plan on it, yeah.
Okay, very cool. So everybody watch for that. You can see other past Mike Portnoy interviews at drumtalktv.com. And Max, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I just want to ask before we go, how are you doing in school real quick?
I am doing very good, actually, this year. Yeah.
Great. What's your
He
favorite?
goes to a performing arts school. He actually started that, so his whole focus from, all day long is music theory and orchestral band and percussive stuff. It's really,
Great.
really, really cool.
That's awesome stuff for a drummer to learn, too.
Because we have block scheduling, so, we have 3 classes one day, and then the rest of the day is just all drums, and the next day we have 2 classes, and it's all drums, so it's a lot more fun than just regular school, I think.
Wow, that's great. What's your favorite subject? What's your favorite time spent at school?
The percussion stuff. But
Cool.
I can't count that, probably English class, probably.
Oh, cool. Great. Well, thanks again, and thank you, everybody, for joining myself, Max Portnoy, and Mike Portnoy here on Drum Talk TV. Follow Next to None at the link on your screen. And remember to get your Drum Talk TV shirts at drumtalktv.com. We got about 30 different designs for guys, girls, kids, babies, iPad covers, mugs, knickknacks, paddywhacks, all that stuff. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.